Dear members of the Specialized Academic Council, dear applicant, those present, we are pleased to welcome you at our today's meeting. The one-time Specialized Academic Council, DF 640555039, at Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics, with the right to accept for consideration and conducting the one-time defense of the thesis by Lü Яньши for the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge 01, Education, Pedagogy, in speciality 011, Educational Pedagogical Sciences, was established by the order number 246 of the 25th of September 2023 on the formation of a one-time Specialized Academic Council, with the right to accept for consideration and conduction a one-time defense of the applicant's thesis for the purpose of awarding him the Doctor of Philosophy degree. The Specialized Academic Council, DF 640555039, was registered in the Information System of National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance on the 13th of December 2023. Message identification number is 10480. ID of the Specialized Academic Council is 3808. The Specialized Academic Council of the Simon Kuznets Kharkiv National University of Economics, DF 6405509, includes Chairman of the Council, Alexander Leonidovich Shumsky, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor, Professor at the Department of Foreign Languages and Cross-Cultural Communication, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics. Reviewers: Тетяна Васильівна Колбина, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Professor at the Department of Foreign Languages and Cross-Cultural Communication, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics. Вікторія Олександрівна Петренко, Candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor at the Department of Pedagogy, Foreign Philology and Translation, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics. Official opponents: Ilona Ivanivna Kostikova, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Theory and Practice of the English Language at Grigorij Savich Skovoroda, Kharkiv National Pedagogical University. Наталя Валентинівна Пазюра, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Aviation English at National Aviation University. Based on the attendance registration card of members of the Specialized Academic Council, all members of the Council are present at the meeting. On the agenda is the defense of thesis by Lü Яньши for obtaining the scientific degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the field of knowledge 001, Education Pedagogy, in speciality 011, Educational Pedagogical Sciences, held in a mixed format. Thesis theme is the development of intercultural competence of bachelor's interpreters on the example of universities in the People's Republic of China. The work was done at the Department of Pedagogy, Foreign Philology and Translation, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics. Research Supervisor Ганна Юрьевна Кравченко, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor, Head of the Department of Learning Technologies, Occupational Safety and Design at Bila Tserkva Institute of Continuous Education of State Higher Educational Institution, University of Educational Management of National Academy of Educational Sciences of Ukraine. And now, let's proceed to the announcement of objective data based on the documents submitted by the applicant. The applicant has submitted the following documents to the Specialized Academic Council: application form addressed to the chairman of the Specialized Academic Council and conducting the defense. Copy of the first page of passport of a citizen of the People's Republic of China with a notarized translation. Copy of a master's degree diploma in specialty English language and literature issued by Guizhou University, the People's Republic of China, with a certificate of recognition of a foreign document on education in Ukraine. Extract from the order of admission to postgraduate studies. Academic certificate of completing the relevant educational and scientific program. Research supervisor's conclusion. Extract from the protocol of extended meeting of the department at which the applicant's research results were publicly presented. Conclusion on the scientific novelty, theoretical and practical significance of thesis results in 2 copies. Consent of the official opponents, reviewers, and the chairman to participate in the work of one-time Specialized Academic Council. Reviewers' references, opponents' references. Thesis text in electronic and printed form. Another printed copy is kept in the university library. Who has any questions to the above information? There are no questions. So, the floor for presenting the main points of thesis is given to Lü Яньши. Please, Lü Яньши, turn on your microphone and share your presentation. Lü Яньши, switch on your presentation, please.
Okay. Can you hear it?
Yes, yes, we can.
Can you see it?
Yes, yes, we can see it. Okay, okay, thank you. Very good. And now, please, we're listening to you.
Distinguished Chairman, honorable members of Specialized Academic Council, I would like to present the main points and results of the research conducted with the theme, the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreter on the example of universities of the People's Republic of China. The dissertation consists of introduction, 3 main sections, and conclusion. The purpose of research was to theoretically substantiate and experimentally test the effectiveness of organizational and pedagogical conditions and models for the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters, a case study of Chinese university. According to the purpose, 4 objectives were set in the study. To fulfill the first one, we carried out an analytical review of the problems in modern scientific research. In the first section, the analysis of scientific literature and sources allowed us to establish that the issue of training talents in the specialty translation and interpreting for bachelor's degree has been studied by scholars from different countries. In their proposed educational programs, educational purposes are considered, namely acquaintance of students with the basics of interpersonal communication, psycholinguistic features of translator training, translators' activities in the field of professional communication, providing education focused on master's students' skills of oral and written foreign language communication, developing professional-oriented speech skill, providing knowledge of the technology base, providing general scientific and professional practicing training, enabling students to perform professional functions, and ensure their competitiveness in the labor market. To better understand the differences in training, we conducted a comparative analysis of educational programs in universities between Ukraine and China. There are 4 certain criteria for determining intercultural competence. Personal professional characters of teachers and students of foreign language institutions, development of foreign language professional communication of participants in the educational process, the impact of external effects of intercultural communication on the professional adaptation of future translators, development of intercultural communication considering the peculiarities of Eastern and Western cultures. The study of problematic issues in education is related to communication process, which involves not only the exchange of information, mutual exchange, and participation in solving pedagogical programs. For over 150 interpretations of communication, Scholars often agreed that the main factor is the message. We have noted that intercultural competence refers to interpersonal competence, the ability to communicate effectively and appropriately with people from different cultural backgrounds. Based on the dynamic intercultural processes, we believe that intercultural communication should promote intercultural interaction and the formation of a harmonious intercultural relationship. So the concept of intercultural competence of a bachelor interpreter is understood as the ability of the person to intercultural communication, which involves effective interaction and building harmonious intercultural relationships between the subjects of the educational process. And it is a prerequisite for the formation and the development of an individual intercultural competence. Understanding these processes have given us an opportunity to study in more details the question of what intercultural competence is in terms of its development. We have identified the structural and functional components of training bachelor interpreters for intercultural professional activity. The effectiveness of the system of training bachelor translators in relation to development of students' intercultural competence, which can be traced in the scientific knowledge of the sense of intercultural competence, intercultural communication, the purpose, content of the training process, and the optimal methods of its implementation. Inability to carry out dialogue communication using a set of methods and techniques of learning a foreign language, in the formation of students' intercultural competence, which encourages them to overcome difficulties in learning foreign languages, solve complex learning situations, master professional skills. Based on this, we have identified the main factors that influence the professional training of bachelor interpreters in Chinese universities and determine their intercultural competence development in the long run, and depict them in the form of diagram. The main factors include social demands, the availability of relevant regulations of international and national institutions, national standards of higher education. This involves the development of concepts of foreign language education of college students, curricula for foreign language courses, teaching and methodological support for teaching. All this is ensured through the development of key interdisciplinary subjects and intercultural competencies in training. By defining the content of intercultural competence, its structure and principles, development of bachelor interpreter intercultural competence, we mean the process of training in the intercultural environment, intercultural awareness, the ability to carry out dialogue intercultural communication, to solve problematic tasks in their study, and fill the content of teaching learning with cultural elements. To fulfill the second one, we have identified organizational and pedagogical conditions and developed a model of development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters on the example of universities in Sichuan province, China. The concept of organizational and pedagogical conditions refers to a set of factors and mechanisms in universities that contributed to effective teaching and learning. By focusing on improving conditions, universities seek to create an educational environment and support the equality of teaching and learning while ensuring effective and efficient functions. In view of this, we have identified organizational and pedagogical conditions, which include the regulatory and legal condition, adaptive learning environment, scientific and methodological condition, psychological and pedagogical condition, material and technical condition. To improve the quality of training, we have identified pedagogical techniques that facilitate the organization of training, improve the educational process. These technologies include information, project-based learning, mobile learning, artificial intelligence, and interactive learning technologies. Considering the conditions and the peculiarities of the development of bachelor interpreter intercultural competence, we have created a model for the development of bachelor interpreters intercultural competence, which is aimed at solving the three tasks: developing dynamic educational programs, introducing special courses into pedagogical practice, selection of methods, techniques, and tools that will contribute to the effective work of academic staff, implementation of a monetary system for assessing the results of the development of bachelor translators intercultural competence. Competence serves as a basis for the goal setting when designing the development of intercultural competence. The model is characterized by a set of interdependent and interrelated organizational, scientific, and methodological approaches and procedures. This model is based on the following components: target module, intercultural educational environment, content, methodological, and result modules. To fulfill the third task of experimental testing the effectiveness of organizational and pedagogical conditions, the components of the model for the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. We've developed a methodology for conducting an experimental study, which considered 4 stages: preparing, explaining, modeling, and formation. The experimental study involves 1,092 participants, including 1,060 students and 32 teachers from different faculties of universities of Sichuan province, China. To confirm the effectiveness of the proposed model, we have developed a dialectic tool for factor theory submodel. This submodel includes a set of interrelated factors and criteria that determine the degree of compliance of the process with the established goals, standards, and norms. To determine the indicators of the dynamic state of developing bachelor interpreter intercultural competence, we use the methods of mathematical statistics. Thus, we have developed a factor criteria submodel for determining the levels of developing bachelor interpreters intercultural competence in Chinese universities. To develop this factor criteria qualitative subjective submodel, the qualitative model of professional training of a bachelor interpreter for the implementation of educational process is taken as a basis. In the course of the theoretical analysis and synthesis, 3 main parameters are identified, and 3 groups with characteristics are organized and given a task to reveal the essence of each parameter. The decomposed structure of a professional activity of a bachelor interpreter in the submodel includes generalized parameters for factors and criteria. These meaningful factors are variable due to changes in the priorities of participants in the monitoring procedures. The submodel includes 3 parameters: professional training of a bachelor interpreter, implementation of the educational process of bachelor interpreter training, and subject-specific activities. The main parameters have 9 factors, which are substantiated in 40 criteria presented by the degree of meaning. According to parameters, factors, and criteria, we can determine the indicators of development level: basic, medium, sufficient, high, which will be understood as qualitative and quantitative assessments of the degree of developing bachelor interpreters intercultural competence. The factor criteria submodel for determining the professional competence of teachers of the development of foreign philology at the universities of Sichuan, China, who work with standards for bachelor's degree of translation and interpreting. This factor criteria submodel contains 5 competences: organizational competence, cognitive competence, communication competence, reflective competence, and professional competence. The effectiveness of the professional activity of the teacher involves a continuing professional education and its positive dynamics, increased interest in teaching, and professional career growth. The data obtained at the beginning of the experimental study indicates that the indicator of intercultural competence in the professional training of a bachelor interpreter is 0.12. The indicator in the educational process is 0.2. The indicator in subject-specific activities is 0.1. The total score of the indicator is 0.42. The obtained indicators do not meet the current requirements, so teachers improve their professional training and restructure the system of subject-specific activities. Having studied the peculiarities of the process of developing bachelor interpreters intercultural difference, based on the primary data obtained, we have developed and proposed a program of corrective measures, improving the level of the development of teachers' professional competence at the intercultural level. After implementation, the results were recorded. The indicator in the professional training is 0.25. The indicator in the education process is 0.32. The indicator in subject-specific activities is 0.37. And the overall indicator is only 0.94. The total score at the beginning of the experimental study was 0.42. And at the end of this study, it was 0.94. The difference between these indicators is 0.52, which indicates a positive trend in the development of bachelor interpreters intercultural competence. comprehensive observations, measurements, and analysis of the level of development of bachelor interpreters. Intercultural competence used in the course of experimental study showed the positive dynamics of changes and confirmed the positive impact of the implemented model of developing bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. The data obtained confirmed that the defined organizational and pedagogical conditions and the use of a model will contribute to development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence in Chinese universities. Regarding the fourth one, we have prepared methodological recommendations for the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence, which reveal the essence and the procedure for applying the model of the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. The recommendation will help to build an effective educational activity of training bachelor interpreter at the Department of Foreign Philology in Chinese universities as well as in Ukraine. The experimental research has proved that it is possible to create appropriate organizational and pedagogical conditions for the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence to carry out a comprehensive study of the issue of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence by the administration of the university, and for teachers to determine the level of their own professional development, evaluate the effectiveness of the pedagogical activities, and determine the prospects for further development of intercultural competence for both teachers and students. The main conclusion of the study is the achievement of the purpose and the fulfillment of the objectives. The study does not embrace all aspects of the development bachelor degree intermediate intercultural competence in Chinese universities. It allows us to outline the problems that require further research. In particular, such issues as the formation of managerial competence in universities deserves attention. The practical value of the prepared materials is confirmed by their implementation in the educational process of higher education institutions, namely Sichuan University of Arts and Science, Simon Kuznets Kharkiv National University of Economics, and the National University Kharkiv Polytechnic of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. That's all for my report. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Lü Яньши, we thank you for a comprehensive report. Dear colleagues, who has questions to the applicant? Please formulate your questions briefly and correctly. So, Tatiana Vasilyevna Kolbina, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, yes, hello.
Thank you. I have two questions.
Professor, let me introduce me, Tatiana Vasilyevna, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor at the Department of Foreign Languages and Cross-Cultural Communication, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics. So, Tatiana Vasilyevna, please.
Yeah, thank you. I have two questions. The first one is, it would be interesting to know whether there is a correlation between bachelor translation intercultural competence and their career development. Does this ability contribute to the professional competence in the future specialist?
Thank you for your question. Yes, there is a correlation between the intercultural competence developed by bachelor interpreters during their studies and their career development. Intercultural competence can contribute to the professional competence of future specialists in the following ways. Effective communication. Intercultural competence helps the bachelor interpreter better understand and communicate with people from different cultural backgrounds. This is crucial in the globalized workplace where intercultural collaboration and communication are becoming increasingly common. Accuracy in translation, a good understanding of cultural nuances, and the ability to adapt to different cultural contexts can help a bachelor interpreter produce more accurate and appropriate translations. Problem-solving skills. Developing intercultural competence requires bachelor interpreter to analyze and solve problems in the intercultural context. These problem-solving skills are transferable to other professional areas and can help future specialists handle complex and diverse challenges. Career opportunities. Bachelor interpreters with developed intercultural competence we have more competitive advantages in seeking employment opportunities and advancing their careers. Translators with strong intercultural competence can better meet the needs and expectations of clients from different cultural backgrounds. This can lead to higher client satisfaction and a positive impact on their professional reputation and networking. While intercultural competence is beneficial, other factors such as language proficiency, subject matter knowledge, and technical skills play important roles which affect career success. Thank you.
Okay, please, another question, Tatiana Vasilyevna.
Yeah, I am satisfied. Yeah, and I have not the second question. Please clarify what the different development of bachelor translator intercultural competence implies. What are its specific features?
Thank you for your question. By definition of development of bachelor interpreters intercultural competence, we mean the process of training bachelor interpreters in the intercultural environment of university, students' awareness of the best intercultural traditions in life, ability to carry out intercultural communication on the basis of dialogue, to solve problematic tasks in the study of linguistic disciplines, to fill the content of teaching and learning with cultural elements. Its specific features involve complexity. Intercultural competence is a complex and dynamic construct involving multiple dimensions, such as cultural awareness, cultural sensitivity, cultural adaptation, and communication skills. Long terms. The development of intercultural competence is a long-term process that requires bachelor interpreters to continuously learn, practice, reflect, and adjust. Context-specific, bachelor interpreters need to be sensitive to cultural differences and able to adjust their translation strategies and communication styles accordingly. Individual bachelor translators need to reflect on their own cultural background and biases and develop strategies to overcome potential limitations and challenges. Language proficiency, empathy, and flexibility. Critical thinking, which enables bachelor interpreters to evaluate and make decisions regarding the most appropriate translation strategies in cultural contexts. These features contribute to the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence, enabling them to provide accurate and culturally appropriate translations. Thank you.
Tatiana Vasilyevna,
Thank you for
are you
this.
satisfied
Yeah.
with the applicants
Yeah,
in
I
place?
am satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, Victoria Alexandrovna Petrenko, candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor of the Department of Pedagogy, Foreign Philology and Translation, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics. Victoria Alexandrovna, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, I've got the first question. My first question is the following. So, in your research, this is introduction, page 21, you state that there are certain criteria for defining intercultural competence, namely the first one, personal professional characteristics of students, as well as personal professional characteristics of foreign language disciplines teachers. The second criteria, participants' foreign language professional communication enhancement in the context of educational process. The third criteria, impact of intercultural communication external factors on the pre-service interpreter's professional adaptation. The fourth criteria, student intercultural communication development with consideration the peculiarities of the Eastern and Western cultures of China. Explain why have you chosen these criteria?
Thank you for your question. We think there are 4 criteria for determining intercultural competence. The reason is intercultural competence theories have witnessed 4 important stages of development over the past 6 years. At the first stage, theory building was fundamental. At the second stage, effectiveness and appropriateness became research focuses. At the third stage, the Western theories continue to keep the momentum, while the non-Western theories made a substantial progress. leading the diversification. At the fourth stage, theoretical perspectives were more coherent, integrated, which deepened the shared understanding. The research on intercultural competence began in the 1960s, and is still one of the main issues that receive close attention. Researchers have analyzed intercultural competence from different disciplines and different perspectives have achieved results. But there are still issues about the development of intercultural competence that needs to be discussed. In terms of the definition, first is idiosyncrasy and developmental process. Intercultural competence is considered as a characteristic of communicator, a static or dynamic process. The second is inner potential and outer effective. Intercultural competence refers to effectiveness of the communication, literacy, inner qualities of communicator as well. Third is the focuses of the Western and non-Western cultures. The process for communicators to master cultural knowledge, control interaction, and the ability to achieve the personal goal, or the ability to build harmonious relationships by understanding others' emotion accurately and constrain self. The first two issues involve a different understanding of intercultural competence. The other is about the value orientation. So in compilation with the characteristics of bachelor interpreters, intercultural competence, and the proposed educational programs supported by different scholars, we put forward these four criteria. Thank you.
And another question, please. By the way, are you satisfied with the answer?
Yes, I'm satisfied with this
Okay,
answer.
please.
And then my next question. So table 1.2 of your dissertation provides a classification of competences that bachelor interpreters should possess and which have an impact on the intercultural competence enhancement or development. Why did you pay attention to these competences?
Thank you for the question. This competence classification for bachelor interpreters include three aspects: basic competence, core competence, and peripheral competence. Basic competence includes linguistic competence and extra-linguistic competence. Core competence includes professional translation and subject knowledge, encyclopedia knowledge, and strategic competence. Peripheral competence includes instrumental competence and psychological mechanism. Actually, these components of translator competence are mainly derived from Packty groups of model, which was justified in 2003. Another source is from the project of European Masters in Translation, launched by the European Union in 2004. The framework in the model in 2009 refers to 5 components, namely translation service provision competence, language competence, intercultural competence, information mining competence, theme competence, and technological competence. This model was modified in 2016, which includes language and intercultural competence, translation competence, technological competence, interpersonal competence, and service provision competence. Taking into account those components, we classify into 3 aspects, though they may be divided into general and specific competencies. Just based on those research findings, the connotation of translator competence can be fully understood. In the process of language acquisition, all sub-competencies are developing, and the comprehensive competence of integrated sub-competencies are also advancing on the basis of accumulated and localized knowledge. This is the main reason why these competencies are considered to impact on the development of intercultural competence. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyu Яньши, for your replies. Victoria Alexandrovna, are you satisfied with the applicant's replies?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Ilona Ivanina Kostikova, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Theory and Practice of the English Language at Grigory Savage Skovoroda, Kharkiv National Pedagogical University. Ilona Ivanina, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. The first question is there a difference in Chinese universities between training interpreters and translators? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, there are some differences in the training of future translators in Chinese universities, depending on the specific program and the pedagogical conditions. Take 17 universities in Sichuan, for example. Six of them are key universities with a relatively long history education, offering bachelor's degree programs and master's degree programs. The others are rather short, only 20 to 30 years education, only for undergraduate programs. So each university has formed its own characteristics in talent training. It is found on their advantages, specialties and disciplines, excellent teaching staff, modern facilities, good learning environments, and research conditions, which attract more top students admission. In table 1.6 on page 70 to 72, characterization of the content and the areas of implementation of standards in bachelor's degree programs for interpreters and translators in Chinese universities, Sichuan province. In accordance with the national standard and teaching requirements, each university set up their own concrete content, areas of implementation of training standards for bachelor's degree in translation and interpreting. The learning objectives meet the regulatory requirements for training, which cover three aspects: the positioning of bachelor interpreters, the requirements for target skills for acquiring professional knowledge, and the orientation to future professional activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Лю Яньши. Ilona Ivanivna, are you satisfied?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, the second question is, was there a difference in the educational environment in Chinese universities for training translators before and after COVID-19? Thank you.
Yes, there's a difference. More forms and settings of learning and teaching adopted and created in a multimodal approach. Many universities have adopted online teaching methods, including online courses, virtual classrooms and laboratories, and remote collaborative learning. This affected the way translator training is conducted through online interpretation practice or remote translation projects. The pandemic accelerates the adoption of technology in translators training. Translation software, online terminology databases, and translation tools, even ChatGPT, are more widely used to support translator learning and practice. International exchange and collaboration opportunities are limited during the pandemic. People don't want to contact others strictly, even keep some distance. This reduces translators' opportunity to improve their intercultural communication skills and the practical experience. In the post-pandemic era, universities pay more attention to cultivation of translator practical skills as the demand for translation services increase. Anyhow, Chinese universities are constantly adjusting and adapting to the changing educational environment to ensure the quality of and effectiveness of translator training. Thank you.
Thank you, Лю Яньши. Ilona Ivanivna, are you satisfied with
Yes,
the
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now, Наталья Валентинівна Пазюра, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Aviation English at National Aviation University. So, Наталья Валентинівна, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I have also two questions. So my first question is, would you be so kind to name the most effective forms and methods in future interpreters training, ensuring the development of intercultural competence?
Thank you for your question. Yes, the most effective forms and methods that can contribute to development of intercultural competence include language learning and cultural studies, practical translation, and internship, collaborative learning. Language learning is a foundation of translation work, and only by mastering the language can one better understand and translation cultural content. By learning about the cultural background and values of different languages, students can better understand the cultural connotations and the implications in the source text and translate more accurately. Students can translate various types of texts, such as news, novels, and academic papers, and continuously improve their translation skills and cultural awareness through practice. Internship and interactive practical training help students better understand the needs and the challenges of the translation industry and develop intercultural competence. By interacting with people from different cultures, students can better understand and appreciate cultural diversity. Teachers' organizational and pedagogical methods are very essential for training and develop their intercultural competence. Thank you.
Thank you, Lю Яньши. Natalia Valentina, are you satisfied with the reply?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Thank you. And my second question is, in your work on page 50, among other components of intercultural competence, you mentioned cross-cultural or intercultural empathy. So how is it formed during future interpreters training? Very interesting to know.
Thank you for your question. Yes, based on the model proposed by the Chinese scholar Sun Youzong, intercultural empathy is one component of intercultural competence. It refers to the ability to understand and appreciate perspectives, values, and emotions of people from different cultural backgrounds. During the training of translators, intercultural empathy can be formed through the following ways. First is cultural studies. By learning these courses on cultural studies, students can better understand cultural connotations and implications in the source text and translate more accurately. Language learning is not only about mastering grammar and vocabulary, but also about understanding the cultural background and the context of the language. Practice translation is an important way to improve translation skills and intercultural empathy. By translation of various types of texts, translator will enhance cultural awareness. Participating in multicultural exchanges can help students broaden their horizons and enhance their intercultural empathy. Case studies is another effective way to cultivate intercultural empathy. Through analyzing real translation cases, students can learn how to translate cultural elements accurately and understand cultural backgrounds and the values of different languages. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyu Яньши. Natalia Valentina, are you satisfied with the applicant's reply?
Yes, I'm fully satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As for me, I also have some questions to the applicant. So my first question is, Lyu Яньшi, did you take into account the peculiarities of Eastern and Western communicative cultures, typical for today's world, while forming bachelor's interpreters intercultural competence? So please.
Thank you. Yes, I know the importance of considering the peculiarities of Western and Eastern communications cultures. In a specific course, intercultural communication, the teacher must spend 1 week focusing on the peculiarities of China and Western cultures in the way of communication. See the appendix on page 234 to instruct and help students to recognize and to practice in dealing with differences. Communication styles and cultural norms can vary significantly between different regions and societies. Eastern and Western communicative cultures have some typical peculiarities that can shape how people interact and communicate. Here are some examples. Indirect communication versus direct communication. High context versus low context. Collectivism or individualism. Eastern cultures often place a strong emphasis on the group or community, while Western cultures tend to prioritize individual autonomy and independence. Understanding and respecting these differences can enhance intercultural communication and relationships. Aware of such differences, we can better navigate intercultural interactions, avoid misunderstandings, and build more harmonious relationships. So it's very important to approach communication with an open mind, respect cultural nuances, and adapt our communication strategies accordingly while forming bachelor interpreters intercultural competence. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Lyu Яньшi. And another question, please. What methods of data collection did you use to determine the level of formation of bachelor's interpreters intercultural competence, and why? Please.
Thank you for your question. To determine the level of forming of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence, mathematical statistics methods were used, such as finding relative values, arithmetic means, and methods of qualitative data processing. Because we have developed a diagnostic toolkit, a factor criteria submodel for determining the levels of development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters in Chinese universities. Factor criteria submodels are a set of interrelated factors and criteria that determine the degree of compliance of a process with the established goals, standards, and norms. We design and use questionnaires to gather self-reported data from bachelor interpreters about their experiences, beliefs, and practices in intercultural communication. In the meantime, data collection is also from a survey of teachers working with bachelor interpreters on their intercultural teaching and professional competence. These can provide insights into their perceived level of intercultural competence and intercultural awareness. Observation of translators' behavior and interactions in intercultural settings is also valuable. Assessments such as language proficiency tests, cultural knowledge quizzes, or case studies are used to measure specific aspects of intercultural competence. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Lü Яньши, thank you very much for your replies. I'm quite satisfied. Dear members of the Specialized Academic Council, do you have any other questions to the applicant? Okay. If there are no questions, let us go ahead. Dear colleagues, Lü Yanshi's thesis received 2 references from institutions and organizations with comments that were handed out to you at the beginning of the council meeting for consideration and analysis. In this regard, the floor is given to the applicant to respond to the comments given in the references. So, Lü Yanshi, please, we're listening to you. The floor is yours.
My sincere gratitude goes to Alexander Dovzhenko-Kuluhiv National Pedagogical University, represented by Hori Lutsenko, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor Vice Rector for Scientific and Pedagogical Work, Bila Tsurkova, Institute of Continuous Education of State Higher Education Institution, University of Educational Management of National Academy of Educational Sciences of Ukraine, represented by Mikhailo Zhuk, candidate of philosophy, associate professor, head of Department of Methodology of Vocational Education and Social Sciences and Humanities, for the thorough analysis of the comments. Regarding the comments about the technologies or methods used by teachers at Chinese universities, in particular in Sichuan province, in the training of bachelor interpreters, which direct affects the development of their intercultural competence, we generally agree. In section 2.3 on page 111 to 112, it is proposed to consider virtual laboratories, which are very popular in modern education in China. On page 114 to 116, it is noted that artificial intelligence is of great importance in learning a foreign language. Artificial intelligence has a potential to develop intercultural competence in foreign language learning in Chinese universities. In the third section, on page 169 to 71, an example of the special course, development of professional and intercultural competence of teachers and students of philological discipline is presented. Regarding the remark about giving example of one of the factorial submodels in the disclosure of the content of the result module, for greater argumentation, we generally agree the diagnostic tools in the form of complex of factor criteria submodels were presented and discussed in detail on page 129 to 34, on 141 to 144 and 146 in Appendix K of the unit of the study. Thank you. Thank you for question.
Thank you, Lü Yanshi. Dear members of the Specialized Academic Council, you have studied the applicant's thesis in detail. prepared and provided references in time. Therefore, we can proceed to announce your conclusions on the research by Лю Яньши. The floor is given to the official opponent, Ilona Ivanivna Kostikova, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor. The opponent's reference is in the applicant's file in the Specialized Academic Council and is posted on the university's official website. So, Ilona Ivanivna, please state the main points of your reference.
Thank you. Dear Alexander Leonidovich, dear Lyu Yanьши, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure to be here at your meeting. Thank you for inviting me to be the opponent. Really, the response is on the university site, and I would like to reduce my speech to tell about the main advantages and a little bit disadvantages of this thesis. Really, the relevance of the topic, the correlation with the programs, the degree of the scientific statement validity, the scientific novelty, the practical significance are pointed in the response. So I would like to tell about main issues, main advantages of this thesis. In my opinion, the authors attempt to analyze the specifics of interpreters and translators education in China is important. Really, it is very important. As it is clarified in the thesis, the theory of intercultural competence development in the People's Republic of China is gaining the special importance. The significance of the thesis is enhanced in the clarification of how the national standards of the People's Republic of China from 2018 have affected the education. The author analyzed consistently the state of interpreters training for bachelors in 17 universities of Sichuan province in China, revealed the shortcomings of the state of intercultural competence development, conducted a detailed pilot survey. In my opinion, in-depth analysis of the governing background regulating educational documents in the People's Republic of China is important. The author underlines the importance of psychological support for bachelors, such psychological counseling, group therapy, crisis involvement. It deserves a special approval. As a positive point, it should be noted that the author considers the technologies for intercultural competence development, such as ICT technologies, as well as interactive, online, virtual, mobile technologies, and others. It is grounded the development, theoretical substantiation, and experimental verification of organizational and pedagogical conditions for intercultural professional competence development of interpreters bachelors. It is important that the author has a critical attitude to the use of the qualitative sub-model, the expert evaluation, the respondent opinions of different genders, men and women, different courses for bachelor studied from the first to the fourth courses, a large sample of students, they are over 1,000. In my opinion, the appendices that provides examples of translation tests for students in the People's Republic of China are interesting and thought-provoking. However, despite the large and quite powerful analytical work, there are certain comments. So the discussion comments are, first, in the introduction, the researchers are listed. It would be worth giving references to them. It would be better to give the main thesis concept taking into account the specifics of Chinese interpreters training. Second, in the first chapter, the description of technologies is offered. In the thesis context, in my opinion, the technologies are only the means of intercultural development, intercultural competence development. Third, in the second chapter of the thesis, the pedagogical condition analysis, in my opinion, and it is necessary to analyze first the conditions proposed by the previous researchers to understand which of the conditions are appropriate and which have already lost their significance. Such a dynamic would be useful in defining one's own condition, as the conditions are defined only as the set in the thesis. In addition, to my mind, there is no clear connection between the proposed conditions and the offered model. Also, according to the research logic, the model should include the pedagogical conditions. Fourth, in the third chapter of the thesis, unfortunately, the experience of online teaching and learning during the pandemic in China is not mentioned or taken into account. How it affected the pedagogical experiment, whether it adjusted the conditions and the model. To my mind, the experiment doesn't show a clear connection between the effectiveness of the conditions and the components of the model. In addition, the experiment is mainly based on the result of questionnaires and surveys, but I would like to see it in more analysis of specific learning activities, tasks, examples that are aimed to establishing the components of intercultural competence development. Fifth, in the methodical recommendations proposed at the end of the thesis, in my opinion, there is a lack of practical materials. As for me, the recommendations are mostly theoretical. Also, it should be aimed at the practice. At the same time, I believe that the discussion comments have a debatable nature and do not decrease the general positive assessment. As for the theoretical, significant value of the thesis, it is a relevant, independent, and completed research. So, the conclusion. This thesis corresponds totally to specially educational pedagogical sciences, and the author, Lü Яньши, deserves to be obtained the academic degree Philosophy Doctor in Specialty Educational Pedagogical Sciences, Educational Sciences. Thank you so much.
We thank distinguished Ilona Ivanivna for the comprehensive reference. The floor is given to Lü Яньши to respond to the official opponent's comments. Lü Яньши, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, I agree with the first comment. It would be advisable to make references to scientific works of researchers. The content of basic concepts with the specifics of China was disclosed in section 1. For the second comment, the technologies presented are the means of forming intercultural competence, focusing on the study of organizational and pedagogical conditions of Chinese universities that seek to create an educational environment. We have identified the pedagogical technologies that facilitate the organizational of learning, ensure the quality of teaching, improve the quality of the educational process. We fully agree with the third one about the expectancy of analyzing the condition. Pedagogical conditions was favorable that create an effective teaching and learning environment. These conditions allowed us to reveal peculiarities of organizational and pedagogical conditions. The model developed by us includes the intercultural education environment, which ensures the development of intercultural competence for both students and teachers as well. Regarding the fourth one about experience of online learning during the pandemic in China, the experimental study was from 2019 to 2022. We focus on the possible consequences of a pandemic in the organizational of the educational process actually. In modeling stage is determine the conditions and substantiate the model. The effectiveness of the model was tested during 2021 to 2022. We agreed with the fifth comment. We focus on providing recommendations to the administration of the university on the development of a program of corrective measures aimed at improving the level of professional competence. One remedial measure is a special course on the basis of pre-service teacher education institution. The special course program is designed for 4-year study. The components of this curriculum are divided into 2 blocks: formation of general competencies for first-year and second-year students, and the formation of professional competencies for third and fourth-year students. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyu Янши. Ilona Ivanivna, are you satisfied with the reply?
Thank you. I am satisfied. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now, the floor is given to the official opponent, Natalia Valentinivna Pazura, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor. The opponent's reference is in the applicant's file in the Specialized Academic Council and is posted on the university's official website. So, Natalia Valentinivna, please state the key aspects of your reference. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues, dear members of our council. My warm greetings from Kiev, and as was said already, my review appeared in due time on the site, so I'd like to ask your permission to focus only on main points of this work. So, one of these points is, of course, its topicality, and the importance of this work is determined by the need to train specialists who are able to perform a wide range of professional functions in the condition of rapid development of international communication and use a foreign language in establishing international contacts in various fields. And in this context, it is People's Republic of China that has innovative experience in training such translators, interpreters, and we are sure that constructive use of Chinese experience in the condition of Ukrainian realities will significantly update the content and organizational forms of interpreters training in our higher educational establishments. So, we can say that speaking about the most significant scientific results contained in this work, we can denote the problem of the development of intercultural competence that has been investigated, its levels and components that have been determined, the organizational and pedagogical conditions for the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence in the process of their professional training that have been theoretically substantiated, and the effectiveness of the model and technology for the development of intercultural competence that has been experimentally verified. This work, of course, without any doubt, has scientific significance and practical scientific novelty and significance, practical significance. And what should we mention? That our applicant has a sufficient number of works that were published in different journals, scientific journals, and works, their participation in different conferences. So among the most remarkable points that may be found in this work, so we should mention in the first chapter, to our mind, it is the author's attempt to investigate the stages of studying intercultural competence by scientists, by scholars from different countries from the world, and of course from People's Republic of China, as it is an important means for understanding the essence. Valuable in this section is the analysis of authentic sources that provide an idea of the scientists, representatives of the country of study, their opinion regarding this specified problem. In the second chapter, of course, great interest is innovative technologies in the organization of the educational process that contribute to its effectiveness. These virtual laboratories that were already mentioned, mobile learning, of course, use of artificial intelligence technology, all this extremely valuable. In this third chapter, I would note these methodological recommendations for the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters that were proposed by our applicant. But my task of an opponent implies finding some controversial points and some comments on the research. And among such points, I can name the first. The introduction and general conclusions are too extensive and require a greater degree of scientific generalization and compliance between the general conclusions with the task specified in the introduction. Thus, in the fourth task, the applicant identified the development of methodological recommendations for the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. But in the general conclusions regarding this task, it remains unclear what exactly the author proposes in them. The introduction, in our opinion, lacks justification of the choice of the country of study, providing convincing facts of the leading position of People's Republic of China in the field of translator or interpreter training. The second, in our opinion, the incorrect translation of the word interpreting is used in the text of the thesis. The third, the theoretical foundation of the research problem need deeper interpretation, in particular, theories, principles, approaches that form the basis of the development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. The fourth, in paragraph 1.1, the author presented a comparative analysis of bachelor interpreters training programs in 8 Ukrainian and 10 Chinese higher educational institutions. It was shown in table 1.1. We believe that to confirm the validity of the comparison done by the applicant, the curricula of these institutions should have been presented in the appendixes. The next, in some places of the research, there is a lack of logical connection between its part and a lack of validity of the presented information. It refers to the paragraph 1.2, page 47, the conclusion to the paragraph 1.1, page 37. The next. At the end of the conclusions for each chapter, a list of the applicant's works should have been submitted, which reflect the content of this section and not the sources that served as the basis for writing this chapter. The next. We believe that in 2.2, the greater persuasiveness and weight of the given information, the applicant should have given references to the sources and should have specified institutions of higher education in the People's Republic of China, examples of which the author described in the text. The next. It would have been appropriate to justify the choice of Chinese universities and colleges with a license to train bachelor interpreters to conduct the experimental part of this study. The next. The research would have benefited significantly if in paragraph 3.3, scientific and methodological recommendations regarding the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters in universities of People's Republic of China had been systemized by levels, for example, conceptual, legislative, organizational, etc. And the last remark, the technical design of the work leaves much to be desired. we believe that certain unification is necessary in the submission of names of scientists and authors. Some are given in English, some in Ukrainian. Large tables such as 1.1, 1.5, 1.6, 3.3, 3.14 had to be moved to the appendixes. It refers to the appendixes as well because some of them are presented in English, some of them in the original language, and it would be appropriate to submit their translation. In the research, there are some gaps between the text in Ukrainian and phrases in English, for example, page 53, spelling mistakes, as well as incorrectly formulated or even controversial phrases or word combinations, which sometimes make it difficult to understand the text. The expressed remarks, of course, are of recommendatory nature. And my general conclusion. The analysis of the thesis, abstracts, and published works gives ground for the conclusion that Lü Яньши research on the topic development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters on the example of universities in the People's Republic of China is completed study that has scientific novelty, theoretical and practical significance for pedagogical science and practice. We believe that the thesis deserves our positive evaluation. It meets the requirements for the preparation of thesis, and its author deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty 011 Educational Pedagogical Sciences, Field of Knowledge, 01 Education Pedagogy. Thank you for your attention.
We thank distinguished Natalia Valentinivna for the comprehensive reference. And now the floor is given to Lü Яньши to respond to the official opponent's comments. Lü Яньши, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for your comments. We fully agree with the second, fourth, fifth, and 10th comments. For the first comment, it requires a greater degree of scientific generalization and relevance of the general conclusions. The third one requires a deeper interpretation and argumentation of the theoretical foundations of the research problem, in particular, the theories, principles, approaches. For the sixth one, we presented the inner conclusion as a list of the author's research works that are highlighted in the main provisions of the study. We agree with the seventh comment regarding the provision of references to sources and specific higher education institutions of the People's Republic of China for greater convincing information. On page 83 to 85, page 89, we provided references to sources confirming the facts of the organization of educational activities in the Chinese universities. As for the eighth comment, regarding the rationale for choosing 17 universities in Sichuan province in China, because they are state-owned or private universities and approved by the Ministry of China Education to train bachelor interpreters. The results were tested at the Sichuan University of Arts and Science, China, because I work at the Department of Foreign Languages of this university as a teacher of translation and interpreting for 10 years, know how to train them in a professional approach to improve the qualification of undergraduates to meet the social demands. For the ninth one, we focus on providing recommendations to the administration of the university to develop a program of corrective measures, to take a special course or accreditation test for translator and interpreters. Recommendations for teachers to develop their professional competence. Recommendations are also for the heads of departments and administration of universities on the implementation of the model for the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters. That's all for my replies. Thank you.
Thank you, Lü Яньши. Natalia Valentinivna, are you satisfied with the replies?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear reviewers, we invite you to speak. So the floor is given to the reviewer, Tatiana Vasilyevna Kolbina, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences professor. The reviewer's reference is in the applicant's file in the Specialized Academic Council and is posted on the university's official website. Tatiana Vasilyevna, we ask you to provide a brief conclusion on the applicant's work, please.
Thank you. Dear Chairman and members of Specialized Council, dear attendees, let me not go into detail about the content of Lyu Yanxi's dissertation review, as it is available at the university's website, but rather online its main points. A detailed examination of Lyu Yanxi's dissertation gives grounds to state that it is a complex theoretical and experimental study. Its relevance is due to the need to develop theoretical and methodological foundations, as well as the urgent need to improve future translators' practical training. The scientific provisions of Lyu Yanxi's dissertation, conclusions and recommendations deepen and enrich theoretical and practical developments on the task of the preserves translators training to intercultural communications through foreign languages studies. The practical significance of the dissertation findings is that a special course development of bachelor translators' professional and intercultural competence has been developed and implemented, as well as a relevant methodological recommendation for higher education establishments in the People Republic of China. It should be noted that the dissertation main research provisions, conclusions, and recommendations are based on original research. The general conclusions of the dissertation satisfy to the completeness of the research and correspond to the tasks set. The analysis of Lyu Yanxi's dissertation and his publications gives grounds to the conclude that the published work reflects the content and scientific provisions of the dissertations, as well as the obtained result approbation. In general, positively assessing Lyu Yanxi's dissertation findings, we consider it possible and appropriate to make some comments and suggestions for its improvement. First one, also extended research has been carried out in the first chapter. The author's position on the problems, issues, and concepts under consideration is not always clearly expressed. In particular, the author refers to the Chinese researcher Lyu Yanshi's work named Guidelines for a New Idea for the Intercultural Competence Development via Foreign Languages Learning, pages 50-51. This work has been taken by the defendant competence model development through foreign languages study. However, the doctoral candidate failed to analyze the primary source thoroughly. Second one, the doctoral applicant's definition of the bachelor translator intercultural competence, page 76, has been changed, challenge to the applicant's approach to the definition competence, since any competence is a result on the individual's ability development. 31. Taken together, the dissertation results along with the doctoral applicant's experience and observations may be extremely useful to extrapolate to the Ukrainian education research and praxis. Therefore, Lyu Yanxi's recommendations for improving the instructional design of the future translators' professional training aimed at intercultural communication enhancement would be greatly appreciated. 41. The author focuses on methodological approaches, pages 99-101, based on weak evidence. Drawing on the analysis of sources, the doctoral candidate highlighted and described general pedagogical principles as well as specific ones. There are valuable provisions defining the content, organizational forms, and methods of integrated learning in accordance with the goals and patterns. On the other hand, the criteria for specific pedagogical principles selection have proved elusive. However, the debatable comments and suggestions are not fundamental nature and don't reduce the overall value of the work performed. Thus, the analysis of the dissertation content along the doctoral candidates' publications gives grounds for the conclusion that Lü Yanshi's dissertation development of intercultural competence of bachelor translators on the example of universities of the People's Republic of China corresponds in its content to the specialty educational pedagogical sciences. It's a complete original work with obtained relevant, scientifically grounded results that constitute a significant contribution to the theory and methodology of professional education. The dissertation meets the current requirement prescribed by the Cabinet of Ministers on awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. The doctoral candidate Lü Янши deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty Educational Pedagogical Sciences in the field of knowledge education pedagogy. Thank you. That's all.
We thank distinguished Tatiana Vasilyevna for the comprehensive reference. The floor is given to the applicant to respond to the reviewer's comments. Lü Янши, please.
Regarding the first comment, we agree with it. Actually, the guidelines are discussed on page 41 to 42. It's very necessary to provide conditions for the acquisition of intercultural knowledge, the formation of intercultural attitudes, and the development of effective intercultural communication. Foreign and Chinese scholars who have conducted conceptual research note that this is a dynamic process and propose a number of models of intercultural interaction and intercultural communication. All of these allows us to create a model of intercultural competence in foreign language education. We agree with the second one. The concept of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters means the ability of the individual to intercultural communication, which involves effective interaction and building harmonious intercultural relationships with the subjects of educational process. As to the third one, there are proposals for teachers to develop educational curricula with regard to interdisciplinary integration. Using program of our special course allows teachers working at Ukrainian universities to improve the organizational of professional training for future translators. As for the system of training translation talents in Chinese universities, it is more practical. In Ukraine, the education system is more flexible and adaptive. Regarding the fourth one, on the argumentation of expediency of distinguished methodology approaches as competence-based, diagnostic, personality-oriented, communicative, and activity-based, interdisciplinary, axiological, qualimetric, systematic. They are revealed mainly in the first section. As for the systematic approach, it was disclosed through system modeling. We agree with the fifth comment regarding the justification for the definition of specific pedagogical principles. The content of the specific pedagogical principles are intercultural comparison, cultural relevance, dominance of pragmatic cultural knowledge, dialogue of cultures, even cultural variable, cultural opposition is revealed in section 1.2. That's my response. Thank you.
Thank you, Lü Янши. Tatiana Vasilyevna, are you satisfied with the reply?
Yeah, I am satisfied. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And now the floor is given to the reviewer, Victoria Alexandrovna Petrenko, candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor, The review's reference is in the applicant's file in the Specialized Academic Council and is posted on the university's official website. Victoria Alexandrovna, please give a short conclusion on Lü Yanshi's work, please.
Dear Chairman and members of the Specialized Council, dear attendees, I want to go into detail about the content of Lü Yanshi's dissertation review, as it is available at the university's website, but I would like to highlight its main points. A detailed examination of Lü Yanshi's dissertation gives grounds to state that it's a complex theoretical experimental study. Its relevance is due to the need to develop theoretical and methodological foundations, as well as the urgent need to improve pre-service interpreters' practical training. The scientific provisions of Lü Yanshi's dissertations, conclusions, and recommendations deepen and enrich theoretical and practical developments on the task of pre-service interpreters training to intercultural communications through foreign languages studies. Namely, Lü Yanshi has developed and theoretically substantiated the tools for determining levels of the bachelor's interpreters' intercultural competence development in the context of higher education establishments in the People's Republic of China, Sichuan province. The practical significance of the dissertation results is the special course development of bachelor interpreters' professional and intercultural competence design. It should be noted that the dissertation main research provisions, conclusions, and recommendations are based on original research. The general conclusions of the dissertation testify to the completeness of the research and correspond to the task set. The analysis of Lü Yanshi's dissertation and his publications give grounds to conclude that the published works reflect the content and specific provisions of the dissertation as well as the obtained results approbation. In general, positively assessing Lü Yanshi's dissertation findings, we consider it possible and appropriate to make some comments and suggestions for its improvement. In subchapter 1.2, the essence of the basic concept of communication, intercultural communication, it would be desirable to pay more attention to the disclosure of the intercultural potential concept essence, while emphasizing the link between the mentioned concept and the intercultural competence development, educational process of bachelor interpreters in the context of People's Republic of China. The second, the doctoral applicant terminologically confused the term competency and the term competence, pages 41, page 96, since the higher educational establishments, graduates' qualifications are described only in terms of competencies. Number 3, in subchapter 2.1, organizational and pedagogical conditions for bachelor interpreters intercultural competence development in the context of higher education of the People's Republic of China, the doctoral applicant interpreted the competence approach in detail. For example, it provides for the creation of favorable conditions for the key competences acquisition, this page 100. The competency-based approach is inherently student-centered, so it would be advisable to highlight the components of the intercultural educational environment, providing organizational and pedagogical conditions for an individual educational trajectory, as well as conditions bachelor interpreter self-development. The fourth one, the developed factor criteria submodel for determining the levels of bachelor interpreters intercultural competence development. This is table 3.3, pages 129, 133, lacks strong evidence since it implicates the application of theoretical analysis and synthesis methods to the bachelor interpreter's intercultural competence structure, along with the intuitive definition of its components. Number 5, there are some shortcomings in the dissertation translation into Ukrainian, although in general the work is written in a transparent academic style in compliance with all the requirements for the text design of the qualification works of this level. But sometimes there are technical errors, stylistics, inaccuracies, and so on. However, the debatable comments and suggestions are not of fundamental nature and do not reduce the overall value of the work performed. Thus, the dissertation assessment, along with the doctoral candidate's publications, give grounds for the conclusion that the dissertation development of bachelor interpreters, intercultural competence, the case of the People's Republic of China's universities, performed by Liu Яньши for the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the specialty Educational Pedagogical Sciences, is a complete qualifying research work. It meets all the requirements prescribed by the law of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, number 40, dated the 12th of January 2017, and approved by the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, dated the 12th of January 2022, number 44, namely, on the procedure for awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree and revoking the decision on awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree, approved either by the higher educational establishment, one-time specialized academic council, or the one-time specialized academic council of the research institutions. The doctoral candidate Liu Яньши deserves to be awarded the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge, education, pedagogy, in specialty 011, Educational Pedagogical Sciences. Thank you for attention.
We thank distinguished Victoria Alexandrovna for the comprehensive reference. The floor is given to the applicant to respond to the reviewers' comments. Liu Яньши, please.
Thank you for your comments. We generally agree with the first comment about paying more attention to the essence of concept of intercultural potential. It refers to an individual's ability to communicate effectively and appropriately with people from different cultural backgrounds. The potential includes ability to feel and understand both sides of communication. So it is the basis of components of intercultural competence. Regarding the second one, we consider the concept of competence, the ability to use knowledge, skills, experience in specific conditions, achieving the most positive results, the ability to act successfully on the basis of practical experience, to use acquired knowledge and skills in solving professional problems. We proved the effectiveness of the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters through the use of factor criteria quality-metric submodel for determining the professional competence of the teachers. And the 6 factors are considered. Regarding the third one, based on the results of the analysis of scientific sources, the components of the educational environment are educational process, educational structures, forms and methods of organizing an environment, pedagogical, psychological and pedagogical supports. For the fourth comment, on the greater argumentation for the development of the factor criterion submodel for determining the level of development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. For measurement, in monitoring practice procedures, it is advisable to use the quality-metric approach. The main method of quality-metric is expert evaluation. Pedagogical quality-metric is being developed, which is generally used in pedagogical measurement for quantitative assessments of psychological, pedagogical, and didactic objects. That's all for my response. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Something happened with our chairman. Thank you, Liu Яньши.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Hans.
Thank you. Yeah, something happened.
Yeah, something happened to our chairman. and part of our specialized council.
Mhm.
Some technical problems.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, exactly. They mentioned some technical problems.
So now we have to waiting for.
Yeah, we are waiting for them. They are texting that they still have some technical problems. We have to wait.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. We're very sorry. We had technical problems with the internet, but now everything is okay. Let's proceed. According to the procedure, let's continue our work. Lü Яньши, you were interrupted. Unfortunately, we are listening to you. Please continue your report, your replies, please.
Yes.
We're
Thank
listening
you
to you, please.
for your,
Lü Яньшi.
thank you for your, thank you for your comments. Yeah, we generally agree with the first comment about paying more attention to the essence of concept of intercultural potential. It refers to an individual ability to communicate effectively and appropriately with the people of different cultural backgrounds. The potential includes the ability to feel and understand both sides of communication. It is a basis of components of intercultural competence. Regarding the second comment, we considered the concept of competence, the ability to use knowledge, skills, experience in specific condition, achieve the most positive results, the ability to act successfully on the basis of practical experience, to use acquired knowledge and skills in solving professional problems. We proved the effectiveness of development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters through the use of a factor criterion quality metric submodel for determining the professional competence of teachers. 6 factors are considered. Regarding the third one, based on the results of analysis of scientific sources, the components of educational environment are educational process, educational structures, forms, and methods of organizing an environment, pedagogical technologies, psychological, and pedagogical supports. A fourth comment on the greater argumentation for the development of factor criteria submodel for determining the level of development of bachelor interpreters' intercultural competence. For measurement in monitoring procedures, it is advisable to use a qualimetric approach. The main method of qualimetry is expert evaluation. Pedagogical qualimetry is being developed, which is generally used in pedagogical measurements for qualitative assessments of psychological, pedagogical, and didactic objects. That's all for my response. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyu Янши. Victoria Alexandrovna, are you satisfied with the applicant's reply?
Yes, and this is the second time I'm satisfied because we have already
Okay.
heard it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
So now,
you.
dear colleagues, let us proceed to the discussion of the Council's draft decision on awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree. I propose to include all the comments expressed in the references in the Council's decision. Are there any objections? There are none. Dear members of the Specialized Academic Council, is there anything to your previous statements, please? So, if everything has already been stated, then as the chairman of the council, I would also say a few words concerning the thesis by Lyu Янши on theme the development of intercultural competence of bachelor's interpreters on the example of universities in the People's Republic of China. So, the work was performed at a sufficiently high scientific level. It is a completed qualifying research paper. The content of the thesis corresponds to the specialty 011 Educational Pedagogical Sciences, and the quality of theoretical and methodological developments corresponds to the level of thesis for obtaining the scientific degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Thesis theme is relevant and fully disclosed. The goal of the work has been achieved, and its results contain scientific novelty and are of theoretical and practical value. I also would like to point out correctly formed scientific apparatus, consistency and thoroughness of the research, high reliability of its results. Furthermore, it's relevant to note that in the course of developing the intercultural competence of bachelor's interpreters, the author constantly emphasizes the need for continuous self-education and self-improvement of the language teacher. In this context, I'd like to mention that Confucius pointed to this as far back as 2,500 years ago. The philosopher said that teacher and student grow together. Obviously, these words are especially relevant in today's world that is rapidly developing and dynamically changing. When the teacher is forced not only to compete with, but also to surpass both Google and artificial intelligence. And especially for the teacher who trains future interpreters, it is vitally important because a language is a dynamic category that is being modified every day. And as for the debatable points of the research, I agree with most of the comments by distinguished opponents and reviewers. Therefore, I also strongly believe that thesis by Lyu Янши and its content meets the requirements for thesis for obtaining the scientific degree of Doctor of Philosophy, namely the requirements of clauses 6, 7, 8, and 9 of the procedure for awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree and revoking the decision of the one-time Specialized Academic Council of the Higher Education Establishment, Research Institution, on awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree approved by the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, number 44 of the 12th of January 2022. And its author, Lü Яньши, deserves to be awarded the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge, education, pedagogy, in speciality 011, Educational Pedagogical Sciences. And now, who among those present would like to speak? So, if there are no more statements, then we can move on to the applicant's final word. Lü Яньши, please, the floor is yours.
Honorable Mr. Chairman, members of Specialized Academic Council, those present. First, please allow me to express my deep gratitude to Volodymyr Stepanovich Palomarenko, Director of Science Kuzlets, Kharkiv, National University of Economics, Doctor of Economic Sciences, Professor, Honored Work of Science and Technology of Ukraine, and to the Department of Postgraduate Studies for the conditions created for studying, preparing, and defending my thesis. Then heartfelt gratitude should be conveyed to my supervisor, Hanna Yurievna Kravchenko, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor for valuable advice on scientific research for her support, scientific experience, and understanding, which helped me so much at all stages of carrying out research work. Next, I would like to express my gratitude to Alexander Leonidovich Sumsky, the main chairman of the Specialized Academic Council, of Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, dear opponents, Inola Ivanivna Kostikova, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, and Natalia Valentilovna Pazunova, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, for their attention, thorough analysis, and constructive comments to the thesis and recommendations for further research. Furthermore, I would like to express my gratitude to the reviewers, Tatiana Vasilyevna Kovina, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, and Victoria Alexandrovna Petrenko, Candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor, for their time, attention, and support, for their in-depth analysis, constructive comments on the thesis, and instructions that I will take into account in my further research. Last but not least, I would like to express my gratitude to all individuals and organizations that sent feedback on my thesis. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Lü Яньши. Thank you. Dear colleagues, now it's time to vote. According to the current procedure, the one-time Specialized Academic Council makes a decision by open voting, during which each member of the council openly speaks up for or against awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree. So, who wants to start? Maybe the official opponent, Ilona Ivanivna Kostikova, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Theory and Practice of the English Language at Grigory Savich Skovoroda, Kharkiv National Pedagogical University, has the floor. Ilona Ivanivna, please.
Sorry. So my conclusion is that the author of the thesis, Lü Яньши, deserves to be obtained the academic degree, philosophy doctor in specialty 011, educational pedagogical sciences, So I'm for, yeah. So thank you so much for your thesis, and it would be a pleasure for us to be for, and I wish you to have to master this degree. Thank you.
We thank our esteemed Ilona Ivanivna. Next, the official opponent, Natalia Valentinina Pazura, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor, Head of the Department of Aviation English at National Aviation University. So, please, Natalia Valentinina, the floor is yours.
Mhm. Thank you. I want to say that I'm going to support this work. I must say that I have deep respect for China, for Chinese people. They are so hardworking, intelligent, and industrious. I had good chance. I was lucky to visit this country before pandemic, and I must say I was just amazed by its development. So, as I said, I'm going to support this work because I'm sure that this thesis is, first of all, it's valuable source for authentic materials regarding the development of intercultural competence of translators and interpreters in the People's Republic of China. And the fact, very important, that this work serves to popularize Ukrainian constructive ideas in the field of education abroad. So I wish our applicant further success. I wish not to stop at this level, at this point, continue his researchers, and we are all fully aware how difficult it was for him to study, to write this work. So, of course, we vote for it. I'm going to vote for it.
We thank our respected Natalia Valentinina. Next, the reviewer, Tatiana Vasilievna Kolbina, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor at the Department of Foreign Languages and Cross-Cultural Communication, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics, has the floor. Please, Tatiana Vasilievna.
Yeah, thank you. Let me express my own opinion about Lyu Yanshi's dissertation. Having analyzed the thesis and based on the defense, I can assert that the thesis by Lyu Yanshi on theme the development of intercultural competence of bachelor translators on the example of universities in the People's Republic of China meets all the requirements for the PhD thesis in terms of its contents and its author, Lyu Янши, deserves to the awarded the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge, education, pedagogy, in specialty, educational and pedagogical sciences, and therefore I joined my colleagues and vote for. Thank you.
Thank you. We thank our esteemed Tatiana Vasilievna. The reviewer, Victoria Alexandrovna Petrenko, Candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor at the Department of Pedagogy, Foreign Philology and Translation, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economics, has the floor. Please, Victoria Alexandrovna.
Thank you. Actually, I remember Lyu Янши as a first-year student. It was 5 years ago. So I'm glad that now you have made some kind of contribution to the Ukrainian science and Ukrainian research. And we do hope that you will spread our knowledge and your findings in China. And so we benefited greatly from our mutual cooperation. My congratulations, as this is one of the final steps of your research for now. But still, as to the work, I think that Lyu Yanshi's work, the development of intercultural competence of bachelor interpreters, the case of universities in the context of People's Republic of China, meet all the requirements for a PhD thesis, and it's also Lyu Янши deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the field of knowledge education, pedagogy, in specialty education, pedagogical sciences. So I vote for.
We thank our respected Victoria Alexandrovna. And now, let me express my own opinion as the chairman of the council. So, having analyzed the thesis and based on the defense, I can insert that the thesis by Lü Яньши on theme the development of intercultural competence of bachelor's interpreters, or the example of universities in the People's Republic of China, meets all the requirements for a PhD thesis in terms of its content, and its author, Lü Яньши, deserves to be awarded the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge, education, pedagogy, in specialty the 011, educational, pedagogical sciences. Therefore, I join my colleagues' opinion. I vote for. Thus, all the members of the Specialized Academic Council expressed a positive opinion on the results of Lü Яньши's research and voted for awarding him the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge, education, pedagogy, in specialty 011, educational, pedagogical sciences. Let us record this decision by raising your hands. So, those who are for awarding the PhD degree, please vote. Unanimously. Thus, based on the results of open voting, as well as on fulfilling the requirements of the procedure for awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree, and revoking the decision of the one-time Specialized Academic Council of the Higher Educational Establishment, Research Institution on awarding the Doctor of Philosophy degree, approved by the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine of the 12th of January 2022, number 44, the Specialized Academic Council, DF 64055-039, awards Lü Яньши the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of knowledge 01, education, pedagogy, in specialty 011, educational, pedagogical sciences. Dear Lü Яньши, we congratulate you on this event.
Thank you. Thank you all.
At this point, thank you, Lü Яньши. At this point, the meeting of the Specialized Academic Council is considered closed. Thank you.
Thank you.